This is Christopher John Bjerknes. It is February 16th, 2025, and everything is going to hell just exactly as I predicted and as I've been warning you about. Donald Trump is Messiah, son of Joseph. He is the duplicitous, treacherous leader that the Jews place at the head of the Edomite Roman Empire of the West. His role is to sabotage us and to bring us into ruin, completely destroy us, and ultimately to exterminate us, just as Jesus Christ, Messiah, son of Joseph, took over the Roman Empire, brought it into decline and fall, ruined it, brought about the Dark Ages. Donald Trump, Messiah, son of Joseph, is the Christ, returned as the antichrist. Just as I predicted, he is destroying NATO. He is sabotaging the Western alliance. He is sabotaging our nuclear arsenals. He has attempted to fire those who maintain and improve and develop our nuclear arsenals. He is talking about dismantling our nuclear arsenal. He's talking about reducing our military budget by half, and entering into treaties with Russia and China, which we will not be able to monitor and verify and enforce, because at the same time, he is defunding our federal police. He is firing and trying to coerce the FBI into ruin. He's doing the same to the CIA. He's trying to get rid of both of those federal agencies, and at the same time, he's trying to set us up so that our military is completely ruined. If we don't have an FBI, if we don't have an effective CIA, there will be no one to monitor whether those treaties he makes with Russia and with China are honored by our mortal enemies who are out to completely exterminate us. There will be no way to monitor the espionage taking place in the United States by the Chinese, the Indians, the Russians, and the Israelis. There will be no way to arrest them, to prosecute them. We won't know where their networks are. We won't know how they work. We don't know who are their assets in the United States, their fifth column and Trojan horse within the highest levels of our government, including Donald Trump. There'll be nobody to prosecute him. There'll be nobody to gather evidence or arrest him and the other traitors that he is filling our government with. He put Tulsi Gabbard in to head our intelligence agencies, an obvious saboteur working for the Russians and the Israelis and the Chinese to undermine and destroy the Roman Edomite West. So as I warned you, he is the Christ, returned as the Antichrist. Donald Trump is sabotaging our government in every way he can. He's threatening all these tariffs to try to lure American companies into developing American industry and natural resources, but then he'll pull the rug out from under them and lift the tariffs. And he's working with the Saudis, who are now allies of the Russians against the United States. In the past, the United States used the Saudi Arabians to leverage the USSR. By lowering oil prices, they undermine the capacity of the USSR to fund its military against us. Donald Trump is working with Putin in Saudi Arabia. They are three Jews. Putin is a Chabad Lubavitch Jew, as is Donald Trump. And King Mohammed bin Salman al Saud is a crypto Jew. Through his mother's lineage, the House of Saud, were always Jews, and that's where Saudi Arabia takes its name from. So all this is very reminiscent of the Paris Peace Conference that led to the disastrous Treaty of Versailles, which they knew would lead to World War II. All the people in attendance at the Paris Peace Conference were Jews, Zionists, and communists. Same thing happened at Yalta with Churchill, Stalin, and Roosevelt. We once again had a peace conference headed by Jews, communists, and Zionists that led us directly into the Cold War. And now Trump, that traitorous bastard, has set up a peace conference in Saudi Arabia with him, his fellow Chabadnik, Putin, and the Jewish king of Saudi Arabia to set us up for World War III. He's going to get us all killed deliberately. He's deliberately trying to destroy our economy, to alienate us from our allies, to create pretexts for the Chinese to grab Taiwan and for Putin to grab all of the European continent. David Ben-Gurion said that this was coming, that there would be a Eurasian super Soviet Union that would take over all of Europe. And we're at the doorstep, and he's opening the door. Another thing that they are setting up is when the temple, the third temple of Solomon, the temple of Satan in Jerusalem, is going to be constructed on Temple Mount. One of the things that they've always been planning to do is to steal all the gold of every nation on earth and bring it to the temple and to bring it to Jerusalem. All the gold, silver, and gems of the world have to be brought to Jerusalem in the Messianic age. So we see all the usual suspects, the libertarians pissing on the dollar because they're crypto-communists and want to subvert the United States, and they support BRICS and all our enemies against us. And we see the whole alt-right and alternative media bashing the Federal Reserve, but they're not bashing the Federal Reserve because they want to take the power away from the bankers. It's the exact opposite. They want to empower the bankers to replace our Federal Reserve, destroy America, and steal all our gold reserves. They are setting us up so that America is in unpayable debts, and they want us to pay off our debts with our gold reserves so that the Israelis can get all our gold on the open market, steal it, and cart it off to Jerusalem, as has always been their plan. They're doing the same thing to Great Britain. They're going to do it to all European and historically European-based nations, to all nations. They're going to harvest all the gold of the world and bring it to Jerusalem. But in order to do that, they've got to mess up your minds and demoralize you and teach you falsehoods to believe that the best way to solve our problems is to give up all our gold and put it all up on the market so that they can harvest it and bring it out of our country. And not only that, they want you clamoring for our government to do that. They want you insisting that our government get rid of the Federal Reserve and open up all of our gold reserves and pay off our debts with our gold reserves, our natural resources, our national forests, our ports, our electrical systems, our water systems. They want everything that's public privatized so that we have no constitutional rights to access to any of it. We won't have access to the roads, electricity, water, garbage disposal, anything, unless we conform to what they want. And they want us to demand all this, to clamor for us to give up our gold and hand it over to the bankers so they can bring it over to Israel. They want us to clamor for the destruction of our military and our nuclear arsenal. And he's doing this supposedly in the name of peace, as if the Soviet Russians and the communist Chinese could ever be trusted. And he is pretending to oppose them with these ideas of tariffs, but the tariffs are a trap. It's a little difficult to explain, but when he sets up these tariffs, he's luring American business to drill, baby, drill, take all the oil out of our ground, to go after the natural gas and create earthquakes in Oklahoma and all throughout the country. But if they start doing this, once they invest in all that, he'll pull the rug out from under them. Saudi Arabia will drop oil prices. He'll lift all the tariffs. He'll be bringing in Russian and Venezuelan and Saudi Arabian oil, and all the Americans who invested in America will be screwed. And he's going to do that with all of our agriculture and all of our industry. He is simply setting us up to eventually undermine us and pull the rug out from under us, just as he did with his cryptocurrency. Another Chabadnik Jew, Javier Milei, just did the same thing to the Argentinians, got them to invest in a cryptocurrency that was a scam, and then pulled the rug out from under them and harvested their wealth. This is what has been going on for at least 2,500 years. They did it to the Egyptian Empire. They did it to the Greek Empire. They did it to the Roman Empire, and they did it to the Roman Empire through their Messiah, son of Joseph, Jesus Christ. They did it to the Babylonians through their, through the Persians, through their Messiah, son of Joseph, Cyrus. And now they're doing it to America through the Christ returned as the antichrist, Messiah, son of Joseph, Donald Trump. We have got to set up a new society headed by people who are not a part of this deliberate effort to sabotage us, to flood our shores with foreign invaders from the global south and Eurasianist Marxists and Islam. And we need to do it right now. And we need intelligent, successful people to be involved. We have an opportunity with all of these governmental firings to recruit people and to tap them for positions into a new society and a new government where they will not have their hands tied, where they will not be self-sabotaging. And all of that knowledge, all of that wealth of talent, all of those gifted, successful people can be brought into this new society in order to develop our defenses, in order to develop our institutions, our business, our agriculture. Instead, what's going to happen if we don't do this is that the Israelis and the Chinese and the Soviet Russians are going to recruit these people, and these people are going to be bitter, and they're going to be hateful towards the United States and hateful towards the West because of what was done to them by Messiah, son of Joseph, Donald Trump, and his minions of traitorous scum. And they're going to give over all of our nuclear secrets, our rocket secrets, our hypersonic technologies, our advanced aircraft technologies. They're going to hand it all over, and spitefully and vindictively so, to the Israelis, to the Chinese, to the Russians, so that they can develop weapons with which to mass murder and exterminate us. And Donald Trump is doing this all deliberately, and there is no counter effort whatsoever to create a new society that will be self-sustaining and that will be able to defend itself from all the attacks that are coming. Instead, what's happening is that Donald Trump, at the behest of the enemy, is setting us up to undermine our own country, to alienate us from all of our alliances, to destroy our alliances, to empower Russia to continue to destroy Ukraine, and then to take over all of continental Europe and Great Britain, together with the Chinese, to try to get the Chinese to act as if there's some kind of neutral arbiter in this, to make the Chinese, not the Americans, align with the EU as guarantors of security against Soviet Russian expansionism and imperialism. And it's all a farce. This farce was exposed long ago by Anatoly Golitsyn in his books, New Lies for Old and Perestroika Deception. The Russians and Chinese are international communism. They are part of the same superstructure of international communism, which also includes Israel and our sabotaged government in the United States. All of these enemies are setting us up to exterminate us. And what we have to do to preserve ourselves is to create a new society in which we have control. Instead of constantly reacting to the actions of our government and preserve what they are destroying, we can profit and benefit from the destruction that they are bringing upon all of humanity, not by aiding it in any way and by continuing to oppose it, but it's seemingly inevitable that it's going to occur. And what it will do is bring all the rest of humanity down. Now, if we harvest all the people and all the resources that they are destroying and kicking out and bring them to work for us and for themselves, we can build a new society which will be vastly superior to all the societies that they are deliberately bringing down and destroying. So we need to take advantage of this opportunity, not vindictively and not in hopes that humanity is destroyed, but in hopes of preserving a remnant as the enemy deliberately destroys humanity. And a large portion of humanity lacks the intelligence, self-awareness, innovation to overcome all of this subversion and to realize what's going on. We can't allow those people to drag us down and pull us down with them. We have to separate and create something new and take on the genetically superior people, the best of humanity, into our new society, and we will increasingly gain advantages. We will gain the advantage of all that brain drain, bringing down all of our potential enemies, and we will gain the advantage of having all of those people working for us and benefiting us. Another of the things that I've been talking about is the absurdity that our governments and institutions and individuals have been collecting seed banks of plants in order to preserve plants in the event that the planned coming catastrophes do occur. They think that there will then be plants to repopulate the earth with plant life, but they're doing nothing to preserve our DNA, to preserve our sperm, to preserve our eggs, especially eugenically so, from our best specimens. We should be gathering databases of the very best people and collecting their genetic material, collecting their sperms and eggs and preserving them in sperm and egg banks. We should be collecting from the graves and other resources of our ancestors their DNA and carefully preserving them. We know that the enemy is waging a constant, deliberate attack on our DNA to mutate it and to genetically modify it into some other form of organism. And they are doing it in such a way as to make these new organisms infertile so that they can kill us off. This was the original plan of Christianity, which did it intellectually and abstractly and supposedly spiritually by telling Christian people that it was evil to reproduce and it was evil to trap the soul, the divine spark, in the prison and corpse of material chaos, of matter, and that therefore they were sinning by reproducing, and they would consume their own menstrual waste. They would consume their own semen. They would pull out prior to ejaculation. They would destroy every process of reproduction that they could, and they viewed reproduction as fundamentally evil and satanic, and they were going to die out. Original Christianity had to be supplanted by Orthodox Christianity because original Christianity was a plot to exterminate all the Gentile peoples in the name of morality, in the same way that they have taught Europeans to be self-hating and to limit the number of people that they have and to stop producing food and to invite in all kinds of immigrants who have different DNA and different heritage, culture and traditions and languages and religions, so that Europeans commit suicide Trump is encouraging America to commit suicide by defunding the military by 50% at the same time that he's kicking out all the researchers and all the pilots and all the people who know how to run the military so that they can then become subversives, so that they can then become traitors and join with the Israelis and the Chinese and the Russians against us. He is misleading us into believing that we can trust the Russians and the Chinese and sabotage our own nuclear arsenals as they advance theirs, and at the same time is destroying our intelligence agencies so that we have no one observing, no one gathering intelligence on what the Russians and Chinese are actually doing and what they are doing within our borders and within our institutions. He is ensuring that our enemies can plant a fifth column and a Trojan horse on our shores and garner whatever is left. They are also going to recruit these people who will leave us, and they're going to learn exactly how our military bases operate, how all of our defenses operate, and they're going to learn how to sabotage and attack all of that. They are constantly advancing their aircraft and missiles to shorten the time of attack. And Donald Trump is deliberately sabotaging our nuclear arsenals. He is creating a situation in which he can greenlight Soviet Russia and Red China and Communist North Korea to wage a full-scale first strike nuclear attack on the West, and he will ensure that there is no retaliatory attack from the West back against these Eurasianist powers, so that they will be able to exterminate us in one strike while suffering no losses of their own. All this is coming. All this has effectively been planned for 2,500 years. They have always planned to exterminate us with plagues of famine, with plagues of war, by getting us to fight brother against brother, to mutually destroy one another in mutually assured destruction. And just as after World War II, when they created the atomic bombs and the thermonuclear weapons, they then gave that technology to the Soviets and eventually to the Chinese. And under Armand Hammer's tutelage, Al Gore and Bill Clinton gave that nuclear technology to the Chinese so that they could develop weapons with which to exterminate us. Our government has allowed the Chinese and the Russians to engage in espionage within the United States to gain our hypersonic missile technology, to gain our next generation aircraft technology and use it against us to exterminate us. This process is advancing quite rapidly, as I expected. They want to build the third temple. When they do that, they want to harvest all the gold, all the silver, all the gems in the world, and bring them to Jerusalem, just as the God of Israel duped the Egyptians into loving the Hebrews and loaning them all their gold, silver, and jewels as they engaged in an exodus. They are duping people through their influencer mafia into stupidly believing that it will be a smart thing for us to surrender our gold reserves and to pay off our debts with our national resources and our gold and our silver, and it will include our gems, and it will include everything of value in the United States and in the West. This is the same model being carried out against humanity over and over again. But this is the end game that they always plan for. And just simply exposing Donald Trump as the antichrist now after the election, it should have been done prior to the election, as I was doing. All it will do is add to the confusion, the social unrest and the civil warfare taking place in America, and the warfare that he is planning between Mexico and Canada and the United States and NATO member Denmark, as well as NATO member Canada. He is attacking the Germans. He's trying to get the AfD in power in Germany through Elon Musk and others. Those are Vatnik Putinists who want the Chabad Lubavitch Jew Vladimir Putin to take over all of Europe. They are also heavily Zionists. They are tied to the bankers. This is all a farce to undermine us. So what are we going to do? We have to start recruiting these people who are being harmed by all this. And we have to organize something new that we have control over, where our people cannot be demoralized by their propaganda, by their influencer mafia, by their social media companies that rot out and poison people's brains. These are not 15-second snarky influencer mafia comment type solutions. Simply identifying the enemy can play into its hands. It can bring the whole world against us. What we need is to have the highest level of the new technology of military defenses. We need the state-of-the-art espionage institutions. We have to be able to control what happens in other societies, control what their governments do. We need to take the lead, in other words, as the enemy brings down all the rest of humanity. And we have to do it right now. And we have to preserve our DNA because they are constantly genetically modifying it through infinite different forms of attack. Many of them are sneak stealth attacks, which cannot be detected and therefore cannot be defended against. They are going to be releasing viruses and vaccines that genetically modify our DNA to render us even more infertile. They are going to destroy the human organism at the molecular level. So we have to preserve as best we can the finest examples of humanity in sperm banks and egg banks, so that when all this process of destruction has brought down all of humanity, we will have some source from which to tap into to regenerate humanity and regenerate it in an even greater form eugenically, with the finest examples of human DNA, instead of propagating the lowest examples of human DNA. The Marxists are always trying to destroy the intelligentsia, the academic class, the bourgeoisie, the most successful people in society, to bring down the genetic standards of humanity dysgenically. They want to make women common property. They want to destroy the institution of marriage and family so that every generation becomes more and more dysgenic, where criminals and degenerates breed with the best class of women and produce vastly inferior successive generations. So we're either going to do it or we're not. If people don't get together now and take advantage of these opportunities, take advantage of the fact that they are freeing up all this talent, which can be recruited into a new movement for a new society that is not governed by the enemy and which absolutely excludes the enemy and all enemy influence. If we don't start doing that now, everything is going to be lost. But if we do start doing it now, we will gain an increasing advantage. We will drain all the brains out of these societies which will be pitted against us. We will harvest all of that intelligence that we can then utilize to defend ourselves. If not, it will be harvested by our enemies in Israel, China, and Russia and employed against us to exterminate us. This is both the critical moment at which we are at the precipice of entering into the abyss, or seizing upon this opportunity to save ourselves, preserve our DNA, and create a new society with the state-of-the-art military, intelligence agencies, sabotage agencies, whatever it takes to defend us. And it'll be a cakewalk for us because their whole religion is built, the enemy's entire religion is built upon the premise that they have to bring humanity down. If they bring everyone else down as we rise and become better in every successive generation and build up all of the new technology, reaping from everything that they have already created, we will have vastly superior people, and we will be in a very, very much better situation than all of our potential enemies who are deliberately dragging themselves down into social unrest, poverty, famine, vulnerability to nuclear attack, etc., etc. And that's what they're setting up. Donald Trump is setting us up for a nuclear attack, just as I said he would. For 10 years, I've been warning about this, that Donald Trump is going to deliberately sabotage American military and NATO and set it up so that the Russians, primarily the Russians and the Chinese and the North Koreans, can attack us and all of our allies without any fear of a retaliatory strike. And he's going to greenlight that, and we're going to be wiped out. So continue to fight him in every legal, responsible manner, and try to recapture our society and preserve our military, preserve our gold reserves, preserve our DNA as best you can within our society. But do not count on that. We need to hedge our bets, and we need to create a new society, and all those the best of our people who are being kicked out of institutions of power, institutions of research, academia, agriculture, all our great farmers, all these people who are being subverted and deliberately destroyed, as the communists always do to the best in society, to academia, to the professions, to the heads of agriculture, to the farmers. Mao Zedong wiped out 55 to 100 million Chinese through creating deliberate famine by destroying Chinese farmers in the Great Leap Forward. That's what they're doing to America. That's what they did to Egypt when Joseph sabotaged all the agriculture and money systems of Egypt so that he could buy the Egyptians with their own goods into slavery for the Israelites. They're doing it to us. They always do that. They starved to death 50 million people in the Soviet Union. The Holodomor was all about deliberately creating famine and starving the Ukrainians to death. Trotsky and Lenin did it all throughout the Soviet Union. It was only Herbert Hoover and the Americans who provided food and financial aid, which enabled Lenin and Trotsky to remain in power despite the deliberate famines they were creating. They're doing it to us. It is happening now. They are fulfilling their end times plans to exterminate us. All the signs point to it. They're getting ready to anoint their Messiah publicly. They are getting ready to build their third temple. They are getting ready to fill Jerusalem and the temple with all the gold reserves of the world. And they are setting up the battle of Gog and Magog, the third phase of it, World War III, in which they are going to utterly exterminate the Edomite Roman Empire West. And as I have been pointing out, Elon Musk and Donald Trump are portraying themselves in Saturnalia, Saturn worship rituals of the Romans in order to make the Romans slaves of their slaves. They are making the West in the image of Rome so that they can destroy us with the Christ returned as the antichrist, just as the Messiah, son of Joseph, Jesus Christ, ruined the Roman Empire, caused it to fall, and brought it into the Dark Ages. There was no recovery until the Renaissance, when they returned to their own European roots and rejected Christianity and all of its mythologies. And now they are bringing it all back again through Donald Trump, through Christian nationalism tied to the Zionist Israelis and the Soviet Russians. And all of this crap is deliberate. It's engineered to exterminate us. I wish people would start listening and stop stepping into all these traps. You're not going to solve this by bitching on the internet. We need smart, intelligent, successful people. We need our bourgeoisie class, our intelligentsia, our academia to unite, to create something and to brain drain all the enemies, and to stop utilizing our best brains in the hands of the enemy to create new technologies and new methods of psychological warfare to be used against us, which is exactly what's happening. Our very best people are being utilized by the enemy as tools and weapons against us. We need collect those weapons and get them in our arsenal and build up our arsenals and build up our new technologies. As everyone else diminishes, we will rise further and further above them. And I hope and pray that I can get people to start working towards the idea that we need to preserve the best specimens of our DNA by collecting their sperm and eggs in banks that are carefully preserved and beyond the enemy's reach, because they are setting it up to genetically modify us and to kill us off. And there won't be any specimens left of us to reproduce unless we do all that and safeguard all that. In addition to that, by safeguarding our DNA, we create a disincentive to them to continue to destroy our societies. Because as this new society evolves and grows stronger, if they continue to tear down all of our other societies, all they're going to do is make us, the best, stronger, and they themselves weaker. We need to be smarter than they are, and we need to take advantage of everything that they are doing for our own benefit. And the way to take advantage of their destruction of humanity is to preserve the best remnant of it, so that as everyone else is dragged down, we gain that advantage of their being brought down. And in addition to that, we will raise ourselves up ever higher and gain ever increasing advantages over our enemies, even those of our own people who are serving as cohorts of our enemy against us and trying to drag us down through their stupidity and gullibility, just as Christian Zionists have been doing for hundreds of years now, and just as the MAGA crowd has done to the entire West, brought us down by their gullibility and their stupidity of stepping into this mousetrap of MAGA. I'm going to be talking much more about all of this, and I'm going to be emphasizing the need to act now. I know many of you want me to make more videos about Kabbalah because you want to be entertained and you want to have social networks where you discuss all this. Generally, what happens with that is my work gets plagiarized by scumbags who use it against you. So the most significant of my insights, and I'm the only one in the world who has them, I'm preserving for this new society. I will continue to talk around the edges of it, at the periphery of it, to let you know the danger that we are in. But if you guys want to save yourselves and save the best remnant, we have to start to act, and that's going to be my primary focus going forward. I want to thank very much everyone who has been contributing to keep me going. You can do so at my website, CJBBooks.com. I have a new book, Intelligent Morality, which talks about all the things that I talked about today. I released it prior to the inauguration, knowing exactly what was coming, knowing that Trump would completely sabotage NATO and the Western alliance, sabotage our Japanese and Taiwanese alliances, side with our enemies against us, bring down the American economy, work with the Jewish Saudi Arabians who are in bed with the Israelis to destroy not only the West, but the Palestinian people, and to construct greater Israel. I told you all this was coming. I told you all this was coming 10 years ago, and I'm telling you now, if we don't do something immediately to take advantage of this situation in which Trump is collapsing the West to preserve a remnant of the best, and to take that brain drain and keep it from going to Israel, to Russia and China, and instead have it join with us, we're doomed. But if we do that, we will gain every advantage in the world against the enemy and against those stupid, gullible people who have been bringing down the West ever since Christianity infiltrated the West to ruin us. Thank you all very much for watching. Please visit my website, CJBBooks.com. Please contribute if you can. I very much need your support. And I want to thank all the people who repost my work and help spread the word about it. It's tremendously helpful, and I'm immensely grateful to all of you. And I will see you good people next time. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye for now.